unexpected, but it happened, and now we're here. The progression. I think it's very exciting too. That which obviously is why we're looking forward to seeing you again, finally in the Philippines. But aside from you, all of us are also going to be seeing two others as well. So I want to talk to them as well. The opening acts of the show as well. So first up, we have Ryan Puno, who is a comedian, writer, actor, and director. He started the online comedy channel Solid OK, where his original and commercial work have racked up millions of views. And he is a headliner for Comedy Manila and has opened for Rex Navarrete at Gotham Comedy Club in New York City. And he was also featured on Comedy Central Stand Up Asia alongside JR de Guzman.
Oh, yeah.
So, welcome, Ryan Puno!
Hello, thanks for having me, JR. What's up, man? I'm glad everyone's seeing our reuniting live.
No pressure.
I know.
Yeah.
I think the last time we saw each other was it 2018 or 19?
Yeah, I think it was the Comedy Central thing.
Yeah, it was like right before everything shut down because of COVID.
yeah.
It's been a minute.
That's so. You were the last person I touched before the pandemic.
I haven't watched that.
Nice. I love that. I love that you're reuniting live in front of everybody here, but we're gonna add another person to the mix also that you're going to be reuniting with right now, and that is Red Olera, who has been doing stand-up for 16 years. He has done sold-out shows in Music Museum, PMC Spotlight, Black Box Theater, and the Samsung Performing Arts Theater. He has also opened for international stand-up comedians like Joe Coy, and this time he's going to be opening the show for JR de Guzman. So everybody please welcome Red Olera, who is also wearing red.
Yes, good branding.
Agree.
Sorry, I'm muted pala. What's up? What's up, JR?
Hey, Red, good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm not gonna greet Ryan anymore because I just saw him like.
That one's not as exciting. That's not as exciting.
Kamusta, everyone? Welcome to JR show. I'm very happy to open for JR. Because we used to do, I think JR mentioned a while ago, we used to do this really weird L-shaped bar in BGC. JR would come home here and we would do shows at the Keg. And Ryan has done shows there as well. And I don't think it's just one show. I think we've done like multiple shows there. And I remember thinking, man, we're not gonna make it.
Optimistic, very optimistic.
Nobody's fucking watching us. If the show is free, you know. I sorry for the French. But yeah, it's great. Happy to see JR come back in a big theater, same theater that Chappelle did. So I'm very happy, and I'm very happy that JR is paying me way more than we paid him. So, yeah.
I remember that night and that bar. You kept telling me it's gonna be a hot room. It's gonna be a hot room. You have to do this one.
It's the best room we have on Monday.
The crowd in front of you and the crowd slightly to your right.
Yeah. Sometimes you have like 10 people in front of you and 20 people behind you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was doing my jokes this way.
That was a good day.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Wow.
Yeah, but the owners gave us free drinks, so it was a great time. That was like what, 9-10 years ago, probably.
Red, I blacked out so hard after that show. So hard after that show, yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So nice to see all of you grow, right?
Yes.
Now from bars
We
like
have.
that, to the theater, the big theater, like what Red said, where Chappelle actually held his show too. So no pressure, JR.
No pressure, man.
Now they're gonna forget about Chappelle. Go on that stage. Chappelle who? Also,
Chappelle who?
This is our time.
Very exciting. It's going to be an exciting show. Pero kanina, Ryan and Red, we were talking about fan encounters with JR. He said, the titas is where it's at. Really, it happened. So excited na ako to see how that's going to play out also in the Philippines. But for you guys, do you also have weird fan encounters or fun fan encounters?
Fun fan encounters.
You want to start, Ryan?
Sige. Oh, well, I do, since you mentioned titas,
Mhm.
I'm popular with the titas too. No, but I do remember, because my mom would watch a lot, and then she would bring her friends, and
Mhm.
I always remember this one. My one tita after one show just came up to me. She's like, "I did not understand what you said, but it was funny." Like on energy alone, I guess I was doing something good. And so it's like, "Oh,
Aw.
thanks, tita." And then yeah, but we didn't hook up like JR probably would.
Oh.
Oh.
Still
But
memorable.
Tita got the vibe.
Yeah,
Tita
yeah.
got the vibe.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
That's enough
How
to
about you,
give,
Ren?
Ryan. Just giving enough that vibe, that's enough.
I know.
That's true. Go
No,
ahead,
I do have a tita following too. I don't know, like titas be all up in stand-up comedy. Like I remember, I met this musician that I was really a fan of, si Crown, and then I was like, "Yo, come to my show, and I'll give you tickets." And I gave him a bunch of tickets, and he just came with his mom. I thought he was gonna bring like a lot of, cool people with him, but he just brought his mom. But yeah, for a weird fan encounter, hmm, there was a time, in during the pandemic where people, all have food businesses. I don't know if you remember that, but everybody had food
Yeah.
businesses, and being a fat uh, content creator, uh, I think people wanted to send me a lot of food, so that was a thing, right? So I just, it was very normal to just give out your home address and just, get sent food. But sometimes it gets weird, right? Because you don't know these people; they're strangers. So one time, this guy just sent me food, and I thought he owned the restaurant, but he didn't. He just randomly just sent me food that he
Wow.
bought. Yeah, that he bought from, because when the food arrived, I was like, I know this restaurant, so I contacted the person who owns it. Like, hey, you know this guy because he sent me your food, and I'm like, no, I absolutely don't know that guy. And then he sent me food, and I think he just wanted to know where I live, because the following week he was like, "Yo, I'm near your house. You want to hang out?" And then I kept ignoring him until to the point, "Yo, I saw your gate. The gate to your house, pala, is nice. Your house is really nice. The plants are nice and things like that." And I guess he wanted to hang out with me. And then the final text I got at him was like, "Yo, you want to get a Jamba Juice or something?"
Oh.
That was like after the pandemic. So yeah, but
Yeah,
that
but
was so last time I gave out my home address too.
that
Have
sounds
you
like
moved since?
you basically did a virtual date with that guy,
Yeah,
and then ghosted him.
yeah, I stood him up.
Man,
Yeah.
heartbreaker.
Leading him on.
Oh
Red.
yeah, Red ghosted that person, but I feel like in ano naman, it was right?
Yeah,
One
I
of the
mean,
few cases.
at one point, I do want to be killed by a stalker. That's like my goal. Like I want to be like on stage, and someone shoots me or something, or better like wrestles me and chokes me or something. I don't know, but I don't think it's time. I still want to open for JR.
Yes, hopefully not the show.
Wait till
hopefully
after
not
that
this
show.
Yeah.
After the show, we were good.
After I'll text the guy right away. Yo, bring your knives.
My gosh, see guys, the show is gonna be very interesting now, but hopefully not that show. It's all gonna be good vibes, it's gonna be a lot of fun as well. But thank you so much, Ryan and Red, for sharing, of course. But for now, I think our media friends also have questions para sa inyong lahat, and I'm very, very excited to share them with you. But before that, we'd also appreciate, our media friends to rename your Zoom name here so that we know how to properly address you and what outlet you are from, and also for the raffle later on, because of course, so that we can get in touch with you, diba? So let's start off our Q&A with our media friends. If any of our media friends also here have any additional questions, let us know in the chat, then I will see if we have time later on to read those questions. But are you guys ready for some questions from our media? Yes, ready to go. Okay, so our first one is coming from Alex Brosas of Bandera and Inquirer.net. So this is for JR and Ryan. What's the What's the palpable truth about stand-up comedy in the Philippines, and how do you think it has changed through the years?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I feel left out. You don't want to. You want to ask me that?
Also Red.
Jer and
Also
Ryan.
Red.
Yeah.
Also Red.
Yeah, they
I'm going
wanted
to.
they wanted to
Creating
find
lines,
me
eh?
Yeah.
because I
Uh-oh.
moved away when I was 1 year old, and so let me tell you about stand up in the Philippines.
Okay, so this is for everybody now. Ryan, Red, anybody?
They're
Go
putting.
ahead.
I mean, I think you guys go ahead because I was
Yes.
only there. I've only performed there that 1 year, and so I don't know it. But I will say from the outside looking in, to see how much you guys have grown it, because you guys are really, I mean, from when I was there, kind of the founders of comedy in the Philippines, which is amazing. So I'm actually genuinely interested to hear how it's been for you guys, like growing it and what it's like out there.
Red, why don't you take this one?
I think then Ryan is like the most. You have the most experience on both sides too. See, Ryan. Yeah, but locally, definitely. Yeah, but definitely locally. Stand up here is it's like a developing scene. So if you perform, like say when JR was here before, like around 2013, 2014, uh, this would have been like a very hard scene to perform at because people does not know how to behave yet in a stand-up comedy scene. Like so, what you should work on is the tightness of your set because you don't want their attention to go away. Because Filipinos, when they're not entertained anymore, like when they hear your joke and you're babbling after that, they'll start going to your phones or ordering drinks or talking to their to their friends, right? But now I think people are more aware of how to behave in a stand-up comedy scene. I think it's because not just us doing the shows here, but also you get see a lot of like stand-up comedy content on YouTube and Netflix, and it has risen in popularity too because of uh, Filipino comedians who brought it to the mainstream like Joe Coy, JR, Rex, all those guys. I think we all contributed to I guess educating educating a very pinklawan term, educating the crowd on how to behave. Like recently I had like a baby crying in my show, and then if this was like 2014, people wouldn't know it's like a terrible thing to have, or like why. So I started like doing jokes on the baby, uh like asking if the baby paid the ticket and things like that, and then when I came out with the clip, it was well received. If you came out with that like 10 years ago, people would be like, what did the baby do to you? Like they wouldn't understand like why is it like a terrible thing to have a crying baby at a show. So I think it's very it's not more of like the Philippines having a different culture, but more of like it's just a scene that's developing, and I think in about another 10 years, it should be as close to where the States is at. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're here. I agree with everything Red said. But to add something new, I
Yeah.
think one thing that I've seen really develop is definitely in the performers too. The number of performers. When Red and I started out here, it was just me, Red, and just really a handful of guys. And we would be the audience. There'd be maybe one person in the audience, but now it's just to see how it's grown. Like if you sign up for an open mic, there's like a waiting list, and there's going to be like 30 people on the lineup, and like just as many people, more people in the audience. So there's really, you've seen that growth in the audience, like Red was saying, but also in the performers. There's a lot of people that are interested in it, and what I think has been really nice to see is you see so many different voices. Like I've always, even like when I started out, a lot of my stand up was really in English, and so it's as I've grown, I've found my audience, and a lot of people with their own unique styles have just kind of found their audience, and it's just been really great to see because stand up is a thing you just like enjoying multiple people. and you have like a handful of favorites, and I think that's building here, and to me that's really exciting to see.
For sure. I think the growth both in the audience, people who appreciate stand up, and also the performers, I think is something that we've been seeing, especially in the last few years. Also, thanks to, like what Red said, digital and like social media and all of that. And yeah, we're excited to see where it goes in the future too, especially that we're bringing the show then to the Philippines very, very soon. So thank you to Alex Rosas for that question. But next up we have a question for JR. From Sheila Reyes of ABS-CBN News. For JR, how does performing in different countries and cultures influence your material, and how do you adapt your style to connect with diverse audiences?
Well, the places that I've performed over, like, not in the US, have been, I think, Canada, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Philippines, and Indonesia. And so from those experiences, I mean, that was like, a lot of those were in 2013, 14, when I saw Red, and then Comedy Central Asia with Ryan in Singapore. And I find it's pretty straightforward as far as not doing local references and inside things that are culturally you would know as somebody in the US, and just doing things that are more relatable, like family, I mean, making love. I don't know if I can say that. I was going to say the other word, but I was like, on this. I don't know who is watching this. Yeah, because Red talked about babies a second ago, so I'm thinking, I don't know who the Filipino fan base is watching right now. But like, and for me, it's been helpful to have music as I go internationally, because I feel like that's kind of universal. But I will say it is hard to figure out what is going to work in one country and another country, and I think it's just something you have to find out by doing shows there. So that's was there a second part to that question? How do you adapt to connect? Yeah, I think honestly, I think trying to think more broad and on a human level than a cultural level when I travel overseas. That's kind of how I adapt my set when I travel.
Yeah, I like that you said, you're kind of staying away from things that are like culturally, in that country. I think that's very related to our next question too, from Kate. She's asking for everybody in this age of woke and cancel culture, are there topics you don't, dare touch on, and how do you deal with like hecklers and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to jump in on this one, I'm interested to see it, because I know cancel culture in America. So cancel culture in the Philippines, I'm really curious about.
Yeah.
Well, there is cancel culture here, of course.
Yes.
But you get canceled for the weirdest stuff. Yeah. Like I don't know if this is too early for this, but yeah. This age of woke, and all right, so I think the best answer here is more of there are topics you won't dare touch on. I do, but it's not because I don't want to offend someone. It's more of like I just personally can't write any jokes about it. I can't possibly think of anything funny about disabled people or illness. People with illnesses and things like that. But if I do hear a joke about them and it's it sounds pretty funny, I'm not gonna cancel someone for doing it. So it's just more of like a personal thing. With hecklers, there have been like different kinds of hecklers here. One is the drunk guy. So he's just drunk. You just have to talk to him and give him a little bit of attention, and then that's it. And then the offended ones are like the worst. Like before, I had a joke about how awesome our church songs are, because even though if you don't go to church for a long time, you still remember it by heart, right? So, and then he caught the part of my performance where I was singing the church songs in a very Red Oliero way. So everybody was laughing, and he thought and he came in just at that, and then he thought it was super offensive, so he got up in my face like after I went down from the stage, and then followed me to the backstage before security started picking up that this guy's harassing one of our performers. So yeah, that happened. So um, I think you can curate your topics that you don't want to talk about, but people will find a way, or not find a way, but people will always have some sort of like way to get offended. Like no matter, like I would I would do jokes about religion, and I would do jokes about politics, and people would get offended. And I could do jokes about myself, my own experiences, and people will get offended still. Like I did a joke about the band Eraserheads, and I got more negative reactions for that than any of my jokes ever. So you really don't know what topic you're gonna pick. So I think you just gotta stick to, expressing yourself honestly and genuinely.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
I think it's all like authenticity. And I think I'm me personally. I'm of the belief that nothing really is off topic. Like when in this line of work, I mean, we're making jokes, and like what Red's saying. Even if you see someone and it's like something that's on the line, or it's a really taboo topic. If it's funny, is the comic coming from a place of authenticity? Is it a thoughtful observation? Is it written well? These are the things I appreciate, and I think really, to me, like the mark of a really good comedian is if they can just stay on the line and just dance on that line and not
Mhm.
not go overboard, and but at the same time really kind of push it. To me, those are really really good moments, and to me make a really good comedian. And then with hecklers, yeah, I mean, like one thing that I kind of my go-to is you just make friends with them, because then you make friends with them, it's easier to tell them to shut up. And that's
True.
one trick. Like, hey, what's your name, man? And then like, yeah, shut the fuck up. That's just one really quick technique. One time, the worst heckler I maybe had was like one guy had a meeting, like literally like dinner meeting sila in the middle of the room.
Oh my god.
This was in
Wow.
Borough, when we had our Borough gigs right in Podium.
Yeah.
We was having a meeting, and it actually worked to my advantage because they were not there for the show, so I just made like 3 or 5 minutes of jokes just about them. The audience was really loving it. They had no idea I was talking about them until like the very end. So it worked to my advantage. So I think that's the main thing dealing with heckles. Just how can I make this work for me right now?
Mhm.
And how can I just still create a joke, squeeze a joke out of it. So that's been my approach.
Yeah, I agree on there's not really anything that I wouldn't touch if I could make it funny. Like I won't find something that's on the line just to be on the line, but if it's a topic that I genuinely think I can have a funny perspective on, then I would do it. But like and like also like Red was saying, like there's some things that I just think I don't really have an opinion on that is worth bringing to the stage. If people paid to come see a show, like I want to talk about things that I feel like this is about like worth performing. And so I do think it is a thing of like if another comic is doing a topic that is risky and they do a really good job and make it funny, by all means do it. So for me, I don't think there's anything really I wouldn't talk about. That being said, I have done some things where people will message me or DM me or send an email, and it really like I was like, oh, should I stop doing this? But similar to like again what Red you were saying was somebody's gonna like every joke in your set, somebody can find something to be offended
Yeah.
by. So if you cut out every joke that offended one person, you wouldn't have a set. So I do think you kind of have to just like find that line of like, okay, am I actually an asshole, or is this person just being sensitive? And I ask myself that every night before I go to sleep. But I do think it's like if you genuinely believe in it and believe in it's funny, then you should keep it in your set. But hecklers, I have a pretty. It's so funny. Like I have such a similar thing to Ryan, is like, I think because I look like a nice guy and friendly guy, that when I tell someone to shut the fuck up, it's not intimidating at all. They're not like, oh, I'm gonna fight you. They're like, oh, that's cute. I'll stop. You know. So I kind of have the same approach as Ryan.
Love that. I mean, like you guys said, you can't please everybody all the time, and I think it's always best to make the best of any situation. So I love that it also applies to comedy. I know it's a very difficult art to learn to, but to hear you guys talk about it here, I think is really exciting as well. But we have another question coming from John Bueno of Cumacao. John asks, JR, this isn't your first time performing in the country, and I remember you telling a story about how you bombed a set after Alex Calleja. So how do you deal with jokes that don't land smoothly?
You know what? That one I blame Alex. He was just too good that night. My joke
We've all
was
been
great.
there.
No, I mean Alex he was just so strong that night, and he was just like really good, and the crowd just like loved him so much. I don't even want to tell that story again. I wanted to erase it, but I keep telling it on every one of these press conferences, so I'll just tell it again. I did this show, it was for Valentine's Day. I think Alex went before me, and he just crushed it so hard. And then, and I was like still pretty new. I think I was like, at that point I was probably 2 or 3 years in. And then I went up and did my set, and I bombed pretty hard. And then they were like, oh, could you bring Alex back on?
Oof.
And that was just the hardest I've ever bombed in my life. But that being said, I think if a joke doesn't work, like, it's kind of like boxing. I think you just kind of have to keep going, unless it's so obvious that it made the crowd feel awkward. But if a joke doesn't work, like, it's I heard this metaphor. It's like flying a plane. Like if you have turbulence on the plane and you're the pilot and you're freaking out, then the passenger is going to get worried. But if there's turbulence and you have the confidence that you can land the plane, then they're going to be calm and just sit through the turbulence until you land. I feel the same way with my set, where it's like, okay, I have a few jokes that aren't working, but I know that I can do this well. I know I can, give you guys an entertaining show and make it to the end of my set. We can survive this, you guys. But yeah, I think that's my take on that.
Great way to put it. I think a lot of people can definitely relate to that too. But another question coming from John is, we have learned your folks weren't supportive of your career back then, but how do they feel now?
My dad does my taxes now, so I think he's pretty supportive. No, they're supportive. Like, they're really excited. My dad, like, people, just like you, Sam, people will, at the show, be more excited for when I bring him up on stage towards the end of my show, like if he's there. And even to the point where I'll mess with the crowd sometimes. I'll be like, oh, you guys, my dad's here. Give it up for my dad. And they'll cheer the hardest they've cheered the whole show. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be like, all right, he's actually not here. And then they'll be the maddest they've ever been throughout the whole show.
It's gonna be me.
That's gonna be you, yeah. He's not coming at all. I was just playing tricks on you, Sam. No, he'll be there. You got your photo up.
I'm like about to end this call.
I know. You're like, guys, the show is canceled. JR is not coming. Yeah, they're very supportive now.
For sure. Shout out to your parents, and obviously parents of people who, I feel like Filipino parents too, of kids who decided to pursue arts of any kind. I know it's difficult for them.
Can I ask, is it the same? So, because in America, right, I mean, the stereotype with Filipino parents wanting you to be a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, is it the same thing as like for you guys going into stand-up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.